The anonymous email came 2 weeks before Christmas. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, making a soft little sound. I looked down at it. The sender was unknown. The subject line said, "They're using you." But before I continue, hit the subscribe button and tell me where are you watching this from, and what time of day is it. I almost deleted it. Probably just spam, I thought. Emails like that come all the time. But something made me stop. Call it a feeling in my stomach. Call it 32 years of waiting for something bad to happen. I tapped the screen and opened the email. There was no message, not a single word. Just a video attachment. I looked at it for a moment, my finger hovering over the play button. Then slowly I clicked it. The screen filled my parents' living room. The house I still pay for every month. I froze. The camera angle was slightly crooked, like whoever had taken the video was trying to hide. My dad, Gideon, was sitting in his favorite leather chair, the one I bought him last Father's Day. My mom, Meryl, was perched on the arm of the sofa, her wine glass dangling carefully from her fingers. And there was my brother, Corbin, sprawled across the couch like he owned the place. He was 25, but he had never paid for a single thing in his life. They were laughing. And it wasn't the polite kind of laugh they gave me when I told a joke at family dinners. This was real laughter. Big, loud, happy laughter. Mom was talking about being practical, rolling the word around in her mouth like it tasted sour. She was talking about serving dry turkey for Christmas Eve. Corbin laughed so hard he almost spilled his wine. I felt my stomach tighten. I remembered that awful painting she had bought for the entryway. It had cost $300, the money I had saved for a new winter coat. I had been careful, saving every penny, planning to buy something I really needed. And now it is gone. Dad raised his glass and whispered like it was a secret. A toast to Talia's bonus. "Can't wait for Aspen," he said. "Aspen? What Aspen trip?" Then Corbin said something that made my heart stop. He lifted his glass, smirked, and said, "Just as long as the workhorse keeps pulling." I felt a rush of heat on my face. My head spun. Suddenly, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was 25 again, sitting at my old desk, staring at my laptop with burning eyes. I hovered my finger over the cancel button on a booking confirmation for a trip to Italy. A trip I had saved for over a year. I brought leftovers for lunch every day. I had worked extra shifts. I had skipped small things I wanted just to make sure I could go. My phone rang. It was Mom. "Talia." Her voice was tight with panic. Corbin had wrecked another car. The insurance wouldn't cover it. "We don't know what to do," she said. I looked at the Italy confirmation page. 14 days exploring Tuscany. My dream trip. "How much do you need?" I asked. $5,000, she said. "My entire Italy fund, gone in one bank transfer." "You're the only one we can count on," Mom said. I froze. My heart sank. I remembered every time they had called me, every time they had needed something, and I had given it. Every dollar I saved, every bit of effort I put in, they had taken. And yet, they still acted like I was the responsible one. The memory ended. I snapped back to the present. The video was still playing. Now they were talking about Christmas lists. What gifts they wanted from me. Dad wanted a new watch. Mom wanted a designer purse. Corbin wanted a fancy sound system for his studio. Suddenly, the pain I had carried for years wasn't there. It wasn't dull. It wasn't familiar. It was cold, clear, freeing anger. I looked around my small apartment. Really looked. The furniture was worn because I kept it until it still worked. The walls were bare because decorating seemed like a waste of money. The kitchen was tiny, with appliances older than I liked to admit. This little life I built for myself, brick by brick, sacrifice by sacrifice, suddenly felt like a cage. My phone buzzed again. It was a text from Mom. "Don't forget to pick up that nice bourbon your father likes for Christmas Eve dinner." I placed the phone face down on the counter. My hands weren't shaking anymore. I whispered to the empty apartment. "This is the end." 7 years. 7 long years of being the family ATM. The dutiful daughter. The responsible one. The workhorse. No more. I picked up my phone again and watched the video one more time. Every laugh. Every dismissive comment. Every small, casual cruelty carved away the chains I had wrapped around myself. Then I noticed something I had missed before. A glint of a ring on a hand, briefly visible at the edge of the frame. Whoever recorded this video was in the room with them, watching everything, and had decided I deserved to know. I silently thanked them. Some betrayals are actually gifts. I stood up straight and walked to my laptop. My annual bonus was blinking at me on the screen. 6 figures. Money my family had already imagined spending in their minds. For the first time, I smiled at my bank balance and thought, mine. Not their house payment. Not Corbin's next mistake. Not my parents' vacation. Mine. I took a deep breath and began to type. It was time to make some changes. I watched the video again. This time, I didn't focus on the mockery. I focused on the details. There was Corbin, lounging on the couch, his feet up on Mom's coffee table. I helped her pick that table out last year. He made air quotes with his fingers. I used this money for art supplies, he bragged. I remembered giving him $1,000 from my last paycheck. Money I had saved for myself. Money I had given him because he claimed he needed it for a gallery showing that would finally start his career. I had skipped lunch for 2 weeks to make up the difference. This wasn't just emotional betrayal. It was theft. Plain and simple. I set my phone down on the kitchen counter. My hands were steady. The kitchen clock ticked loudly. 11:42 p.m. The night felt different now. Sharper somehow. Like someone had turned up the clarity on my life. Mom's face filled my mind, not the cruel, wine-flushed woman from the video, but the tearful, pleading mother who had called last month about Dad's emergency dental work. $2,000. Insurance wouldn't cover it. You know your father's too proud to ask, she said. I had transferred the money immediately, no questions asked. Now I understand. There were two antagonists in this story. Not just one. Mom, the emotional manipulator who knew exactly which guilt buttons to push. Dad, the entitled patriarch who had never held a job longer than 3 years, but somehow thought he deserved a $50,000 truck. Corbin? Just the accomplice. The spoiled youngest, taking his cues from the masters. The stakes were clear. My annual bonus, $127,000 this year, would land in my account in 10 days. They were already planning how to spend it on their Aspen trip. My money. My life. The familiar guilt, the voice that whispers family comes first, tried to surface but died quickly. The cozy Christmas Eve dinner I had planned? The prime rib I'd already ordered from the butcher? The gifts wrapped and hidden in my closet? Pathetic. Just a ritual for a woman desperate for scraps of approval. I walked over to my laptop and dialed my boss's cell. It was late, but Diane always answered. Talia, is everything okay? I need to take my PTO, I said, surprised by how steady my voice was. All 3 weeks, starting tomorrow. There was a pause. The Kessler account? I closed it this afternoon. $1.2 million deal. My biggest of the quarter, I said. Are you sick? Family emergency. No, I just need time. I'll be back for the quarterly meeting. Okay then, she said slowly. You've earned it. I hung up, already opening a new browser tab. 20 minutes later, I had a first-class ticket to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, leaving at 10 a.m. The next morning, the Amangani Resort confirmed my reservation moments later. A suite with a view of the Tetons. A heated infinity pool. Mountains as far as I could see. Next came the digital lockdown. I logged into my bank account and went to the automatic payments section. I systematically canceled each one. $2,000 for Mom and Dad's mortgage. $500 for my parents' truck payment. $700 for Dad's truck. $500 for Mom's country club dues. And Corbin's $1,000 monthly allowance. The confirmation screens gave me a satisfaction I had never felt before. I changed every password, bank, email, social media, Amazon, and enabled two-factor authentication on each account. My phone buzzed with verification codes as I secured my digital life. I emailed building management. Due to security concerns, please rekey my apartment, 12B, immediately. I will cover any associated costs. I hit send without hesitation. The clock read 1:27 a.m. when I made the final call. I called Elite Catering, where I had placed a $1,800 order for Christmas Eve dinner. This is Talia Wynn, I said when their after-hours service answered. I need to change the delivery address for my December 24th order. Of course, Miss Wynn. What's the new address? I smiled for the first time in hours. Fire Station #5 on Madison Avenue. It's a donation. Please include a note. Happy holidays to our local heroes. That's very generous, the woman said. We'll take care of it. I walked to my bedroom window and looked out at the city lights. For 7 years, I had poured my life into a bottomless pit of need, thinking that sacrifice meant love. The memory of being called a workhorse should hurt, but instead, it felt like being cut free from a heavy weight. Finally, for the first time, I felt light. Free. My phone buzzed. It was a text from Mom. Don't forget we need that check for the roof repair by Friday. Love you. I didn't answer. Instead, I turned off my phone and placed it carefully on the nightstand. I wanted it out of my sight. I began packing my suitcase for Wyoming. My heart was beating fast. This was my first plane trip that wasn't for work, for family, or for anyone else. This one was just for me. For years, I had been the workhorse of my family. I did everything they asked, everything they needed, everything they wanted. I rarely said no. But not this time. This time I was leaving. And I knew that when they found out, they would be shocked. I would be far away, 1,500 miles from them, drinking champagne in first class while they figured out how to manage without me. It was about 7 a.m. I picked up my last cashmere sweater, the one I bought on sale 3 years ago, soft and warm. I folded it carefully and placed it in my suitcase. I zipped it up slowly, listening to the smooth sound of the zipper. It felt like I was locking in my little act of independence. 3 weeks at the Amangani in Jackson Hole would not be cheap. It was a luxurious resort in the mountains, and I knew every meal, every spa treatment, every snowshoeing trip would cost a lot of money. But this time, I wasn't thinking about anyone else. No bills for family members, no helping anyone with their problems. Just me. Just my happiness. Suddenly, my phone vibrated again. I ignored it at first, but then I saw the name, Gideon. I stared at it for 3 full rings before picking up. "Hello," I said calmly. My fingers rested on the closed suitcase. I wanted him to know I wasn't in a rush. "Talia." My father's voice boomed through the phone like thunder. "The dealership just called. The truck payment didn't go through. What did you do? Fix it. Now." The old Talia would have panicked. She would have rushed to her laptop, typing frantically, apologizing, sending money, trying to make everything right. She would have been scared and guilty and exhausted. But the old Talia had died 2 days ago, watching a video that changed everything. "That's weird, Dad," I said, my voice flat and calm. "It must be a bank error. I'm walking into a meeting now. I'll check it later." "Later? This is serious. They're threatening to report it to." I hung up. The silence after was like victory. Just 2 words. Gotta go. 7 years of jumping when he said jump, erased. Just like that. I slid my phone to do not disturb. No more interruptions. No more emergencies. No more guilt. I grabbed the handle of my suitcase, lifted it off the bed, and walked out the door without looking back. The airport was busy and loud, full of travelers rushing to catch flights. The holiday decorations were everywhere, red ribbons, green garlands, little sparkling lights. But I didn't notice them. My mind was already in Wyoming. Security was fast. I moved through it without thinking much, almost like I had done it 100 times. But today it didn't feel like work or obligation. It felt like freedom. The first-class lounge was quiet. I sat in a big, soft chair and sipped champagne. I watched the planes move slowly across the tarmac. Each one was carrying people somewhere, maybe to family, maybe to work, maybe to their own private problems. By nightfall, I was lying on a king-sized bed at the Amangani. Outside my window, the Grand Tetons rose against the sky, massive and dark. The air smelled clean and cold. No one knew where I was. No one needed me. It felt amazing. The next few days were full of luxury. I went to the spa, had fancy meals, and took long naps by the fireplace. I went snowshoeing and explored the mountains. I read books I had wanted to read for years, but never had the time. I watched snow fall on the trees and mountains, feeling the world slow down around me. Christmas Eve came with fresh snow covering the landscape. The resort was decorated with pine garlands and twinkling lights. The smell of cinnamon and spruce filled the air. I spent the afternoon in the heated infinity pool. Steam rose around me while snowflakes landed on the water and melted instantly. Hot and cold together felt like a perfect metaphor for my life, before and after the video. At exactly 6 p.m., when I should have been serving Christmas dinner at home, my phone suddenly exploded with notifications. I had turned it back on after days of silence, but only to watch. Not to reply. Texts rolled in fast. From Meryl, "Where are you?" From Corbin, "Mom's freaking out." From Gideon, "This isn't funny." From Meryl, "We're outside your apartment." From Gideon, "The door is locked." I opened the Ring camera app. There they were, outside my apartment, standing like tourists who had come to a closed museum. Meryl was wearing the cashmere coat I had bought her last Christmas. Gideon stomped his feet to keep warm, his face dark with anger. Corbin leaned against the railing, checking his phone, probably texting me for the 10th time. Confusion turned to frustration, then to anger. Meryl rang the doorbell over and over. Gideon pounded the door. Corbin kicked the welcome mat. I watched them through the camera. It was better than any Christmas movie. I recorded little clips as they argued. Meryl called hospitals, pretending to cry. Gideon threatened to call the landlord. Corbin slumped to the floor, complaining about missing dinner. For an hour, I watched. Their world was collapsing. The landlord didn't answer. Hospitals had no record of me. The neighbors didn't know where I was. Their carefully built world, with me at the center, was falling apart. Finally, when their rage started to fade into confusion, I opened our family group chat. I hesitated for just a moment, then uploaded the original video, the one that started it all. The one where they laughed at me, made fun of my turkey, and planned their Aspen trip using my bonus money. I added a simple message. Heard you wanted to go to Aspen. I hope this video is entertaining. P.S. All auto payments were stopped 2 weeks ago. Good luck. I watched their faces through the Ring camera as the texts arrived. Meryl saw it first. Her expression changed immediately. Gideon's face went pale. Corbin stepped back, staring at his phone, then at the locked door. Understanding slowly spread across his face. Who sent her this? Gideon hissed, looking around like someone might appear from the shadows. She can't just... Meryl started, but stopped mid-sentence. Corbin stared at his phone again, comprehension dawning slowly. She's gone. She's really gone. Not just physically. Not just gone from the room. Gone from their control. The workhorse had broken free. I memorized their stunned faces one last time. Then I turned off my phone completely, set it on the nightstand, and picked up the room service menu. For the first time in my adult life, I was spending Christmas exactly how I wanted. And it tasted like freedom. 2 days after Christmas, I returned to my apartment. 10 days after Christmas, the key felt heavy in my hand. Just a small piece of metal, but it meant everything. Safety, boundaries, and a life I could finally call my own. Here you go, Miss Wynne. All done, said the leasing agent, sliding the paperwork across the desk. My apartment had been completely rekeyed, just as I requested. I pocketed the new key and signed where needed. My phone buzzed in my purse. 44 missed calls since I got back. I didn't listen to one voicemail. I didn't read a single text. Instead, I deleted them all, one by one, like pulling weeds from a garden I was finally taking care of. Is everything okay? The agent asked, noticing my distraction. Everything is perfect, I said. And for the first time in years, I really meant it. Outside, the sun glinted off windshields in the parking lot. Cold, yes, but clear and bright. The vacation had given me perspective. Watching their Christmas Eve meltdown from the infinity pool had been fascinating but far away. Their panic wasn't my problem anymore. I went back to work. My boss nodded at me as I walked in. No questions about where I had been. Just respect for my boundaries. For 10 straight days, my phone stayed on Do Not Disturb. I worked hard, slept better, and even started looking at furniture websites, imagining what a real home could look like someday. Not the cramped apartment I had accepted as my life for years. Then, a few weeks after I returned, they made their first move. I was walking to my car in the underground garage when I heard a voice. Talia? I turned. Aunt Odessa, my mother's sister, stepped out from behind a concrete pillar. Her Burberry coat and perfectly styled silver hair looked too fancy for the dim garage. She had planned this. I could tell. Oh, Talia, your mother is devastated. She hasn't slept in weeks. Your father's truck was repossessed. They might lose the house. And Corbin, she paused for drama. He's talking about moving back in because he can't pay his rent. The old me would have crumbled under this guilt. I would have apologized, promised to fix everything, and drained my bank account to make them happy. But this time, I looked Aunt Odessa directly in the eyes. I saw it all. The worry she showed was carefully calculated. The concern was real, but only as a tool to control me. This wasn't love. It was manipulation, a hostage negotiation, and I had been the only one paying the ransom. This time, I wasn't falling for it. I wasn't giving them power over me anymore. I stood there, keys in hand, calm and strong. I finally understood. 7 years of obedience, worry, guilt, and panic. It was time to stop. I had my freedom. I had my life. And no one could take it away. Odessa came closer and touched my arm. You need to be the bigger person here, she said. Family is everything, she added. You need to fix this. I gently moved her hand away from my arm. Thank you for caring, Aunt Odessa, I said. I know this must be difficult for everyone. Her eyes got wide. She had been expecting me to cry, or say sorry, or promise to call Mom right away. She expected tears, apologies, maybe even running straight to the car to do whatever she said. But I didn't do any of that. I just smiled a little and said, "I hope you have a wonderful day." And I unlocked my car, slid inside, and closed the door quietly, letting it click shut behind me. Through the window, I could still see Odessa's face. She looked shocked, like she couldn't believe I wasn't reacting the way she wanted. I knew she would tell Meryl. Of course she would. She always did. And then Meryl would tell Mom, and Mom would look at every word I said and try to find a way to make me feel guilty. That's how my family worked. They took whatever they could and used it against me. If I didn't answer, they would see it as a challenge, not as me having boundaries. 3 days later, the next attack came. I was in a meeting with our marketing team, sitting at the big table with papers and laptops in front of me, when my desk phone lit up. Linda, our receptionist, almost never interrupts meetings. "I'm sorry, Em," she started to say. But the thought of answering the phone distracted me for only a moment. Because that morning I had an appointment and I had been waiting to see someone. The coffee shop was bustling, full of mid-morning energy. People talked and laughed. The smell of coffee and baked pastries filled the air. But Marina sat across from me, perfectly still, not touching the latte in front of her. Her fingers traced the edge of the cup without picking it up. She was calm, serious, and watching me closely. It had been 3 months since Christmas Eve, and this was the first time I was seeing Marina in person. She was the woman who changed my life with a single video. One moment. I could not stay silent. I had to know more, and I had to hear it from her. She spoke softly but firmly. "I was washing my hands and came out of the bathroom when I heard your mom say, 'Talia is the easiest one to control.'" Then all of them laughed. She looked up at me, her brown eyes clear and steady. I felt sick inside, thinking about the meanness in their laughter. I felt the cruelty like a heavy weight. I had to record it, so I took out my phone and pressed the button to capture it. I studied her carefully. She was prettier than Corbin deserved, smart and serious. There was no nonsense in her posture, no pretending. I looked for pity in her expression, but there was none. Only clarity, only truth. "I broke up with him right after," she continued, stirring her coffee without drinking it. "I realized he is just like them. A user. You deserve to know the truth." Her words hung in the air like a light breaking through darkness. I felt a weight lift that I hadn't realized was still on me. Someone else saw it. Someone else thought it was wrong. My family's meanness wasn't just in my imagination, it was real. Real enough that a relative stranger risked drama just to expose it. "Thank you," I said simply. "You changed everything." Marina shrugged one shoulder. "You would have figured it out eventually." "Maybe," I said, "but who knows how many more years I would have wasted if you hadn't told me." I took a sip of my coffee, feeling a little warmth in my chest. "What made you send it when you did?" I asked. "Corbin asked me what I was getting you for Christmas," she said. Her mouth twisted in a small frown. "He said not to waste money on anything expensive because you would never notice anyway. Said you were too busy playing martyr." I laughed. The sound surprised both of us. "What did you tell him?" I asked. "I told him I already got you something priceless," she said, smiling for the first time. That smile lit up her face, and it felt like sunshine in a cloudy day. It turned out she was right. On the drive home, I took a little detour. The morning sun shone brightly, bouncing off the tall, ornate sign that read, Oakwood Estates, a gated community on the north side of town. I slowed down as I passed the sales office, my heart beating faster. I looked at the tall iron fence, the cameras, the high-tech call box, and the security patrol cars slowly rolling by. The trap I had been setting was not the kind my family expected. It wasn't about revenge. It was about freedom, safety, distance, and money that belonged to me, not them. I had an extra $4,000 a month now in my bank account, which included the $2,500 mortgage I no longer had to pay on their house. I had quietly secured a mortgage on a 4-bedroom house with a garden, a security system, and most importantly, a gate that kept my family out. A week later, my phone buzzed again. Marina had sent me a screenshot from Corbin's Instagram. The picture was sad. All 3 Prescotts, Gideon, Meryl, and Corbin, were crammed onto a small, worn-out sofa in what must be Corbin's apartment. My father's face looked tired. His early retirement seemed more like he was unemployed. My mother's hair, once perfect, now looked dull. Corbin looked like he hadn't slept for days. But it wasn't the image alone that made me pause. It was the caption. "No matter what happens, family is everything. Enjoying a cozy night in. Family first. Blessed." Marina's text came after. "Look at this hypocrisy. They are trying to play the victim. I looked at the photo again. The small, cramped space. The tension in their postures. The fake smiles that didn't reach their eyes. They were trying hard to look happy while everything around them was falling apart. 3 months without me, the family's workhorse, and this was what remained. I did not feel happy. Not even a little. But I did feel clarity. A quiet understanding of what was always beneath the surface. My family was built on taking, not love. Without someone to use, they were lost. Thanks for sending this, I texted Marina. Do you want to come to a housewarming party after I get everything ready? Nothing fancy, just a small dinner. I'll let you know the date later. I did not wait for her reply. I drove to the real estate office. The papers were ready for my signature. A month after moving into my new house, my phone buzzed while I was unpacking kitchen boxes. The high-tech gate camera showed a familiar figure at the call box. It was my mother. Her face was streaked with tears. Her hair was wild in the spring wind. She pressed the button over and over. Talia, please. Your father, he's sick. We need you. Her voice cracked through the speaker system. A year ago, those words would have sent me running to my car, keys and checkbook in hand. 6 months ago, I would have felt a twinge of doubt. But today, sitting in my sunlit kitchen surrounded by boxes of dishes I chose myself, I felt nothing. I watched Meryl's performance for a few moments. The fake tears. The carefully smudged mascara. The vague emergency. The maximum pressure moves in her arsenal. Even from a distance, I could see it was a lie. My father was not sick. This was desperation, not an emergency. The workhorse was now the gatekeeper. 7 years of manipulation crashed against a simple electronic barrier, and I had no guilt left. I thought of Marina's words, of the video, of my mom saying, Talia is the easiest one to control. I knew there was nothing left to say. I tapped the dismiss button on the notification. The feed went dark. In the quiet of my kitchen, I unpacked a set of wine glasses I had bought the day before. Beautiful, unnecessary things I would never have allowed myself to own before. I arranged them carefully in the cabinet. The sound of a car engine starting and fading away drifted through my open window. She was gone. I opened a bottle of Chianti I had been saving and poured myself a glass. The ruby liquid caught the sunlight as I raised it in a silent toast. To the woman I had become. To boundaries that held. Freedom is hard won. To a life that was completely mine. When my phone buzzed again, it was Marina. I am glad you kept the boundaries. They don't deserve you at all. I smiled and typed back. Thank you for everything. See you soon. The feeling of freedom had never been better. I arranged a beautiful mosaic vase on my entryway table. Stepping back, I admired the burst of color against the cream-colored walls. 3 months in this house, and I was still discovering corners to fill. New ways to make it mine. The vase was ridiculously expensive, completely unnecessary, and exactly what I wanted. No one had to approve the purchase. No one questioned it. The freedom still felt strange, like a language I was learning fluently. A painting hung above the table. Abstract splashes of crimson and gold that reminded me of Italian sunsets. Another indulgence. Another declaration. My phone pinged with a reminder. Book Italy. I smiled, walking through the living room where no furniture bore water rings or mysterious stains. Everything here has been chosen by me. For me. A visible record of my new priorities. In my home office, not a converted closet like my old apartment, but a real room with tall windows and bookshelves, I settled into my leather chair. My laptop waited on the desk, open to a travel site. First-class tickets to Rome. A month-long itinerary through Tuscany, the Amalfi Coast, and Venice. The trip I had canceled 7 years ago to bail out Corbin. The total made me blink. Nearly 3 times what I had budgeted back then. But now there was no flicker of hesitation. No mental calculation of what else that money could fix, or who else it could help. I clicked purchase. Confirmation appeared, and I felt nothing but satisfaction. No guilt. No worries. No imaginary balance sheet. Where my needs always registered in red, now they were met. The doorbell chimed, pulling me from my thoughts. The security camera feed showed Marina on my porch, holding a bottle of wine. You're officially the first guest to use the front door instead of the gate intercom, I told her, swinging the door open. Marina laughed, handing me the wine. Historic moment. Should we take a picture? I ushered her inside, watching her eyes widen in space. This is gorgeous, Talia, she said. Feels like you. That was the best compliment I could have received. I led her to the kitchen where dinner waited. A meal I cooked because I wanted to, not because I owed anyone anything. Over pasta and wine, we talked about everything except my family. Not because they were forbidden, but because they were irrelevant. When Marina finally brought up Corbin, I could listen without the old twist in my stomach. He would figure it out eventually. Or he wouldn't. Either way, it wasn't my problem. I refilled our glasses. Or he won't. Either way, it's not my problem, I said. 2 weeks later, I was at my desk reviewing quarterly numbers when Jenna, our newest sales rep, dropped into the chair across from me. Her face bore the tight, pinched look I recognized from my own mirror years ago. Everything all right? I asked, though I already knew it wasn't. Her nephew needed braces. $5,000. She asked if I could help, since I make so much money now. Her fingers formed bitter air quotes. And you're considering it? I leaned forward, cutting her off. Let me give you some advice. Don't ever set yourself on fire just to keep someone else warm. Her eyes widened slightly. Trust me, I added. I've been the human torch. The scars take years to heal. The morning of my flight to Italy, I stood in my bedroom, zipping my suitcase closed. Everything I needed, nothing I didn't. The simplicity felt luxurious. I carried the suitcase downstairs, through the house that belonged only to me. At the front door, I paused to set the security system, then stepped outside into the bright morning sun. The warmth touched my face, and I smiled, not the tight, people-pleasing smile I perfected over years of giving away pieces of myself, but something real and unhurried. The workhorse had been released from her harness. The journey was finally mine.